even though I'd found it hard to adjust to being in the jungle, I found it way harder to adjust coming home because I felt that my outlook had changed quite a lot.
Hello, it's Zoe, and welcome back to the Mischief Movement podcast, your weekly inspo for people looking for more hell yeah in their life. Consider this your one-way ticket out of midlife mediocrity towards fun and positive impact via playful disruption. Wouldn't you love to wake up and feel like a total badass? How about breaking some rules, throwing two fingers up to society and doing more of the things you love? I'm talking full-on freedom, adventure, and those meaningful connections I know you've been craving. Stop waiting for your amazing life to happen and go get it. I'll be picking the brains of some true game changers and mischief makers so I can share what I find and hopefully inspire you to shake things up, do more of what makes you feel alive, and boldly rebel against the ordinary. I've no idea what I'm doing, to be honest, but I've got a mission and I'm here to start a movement. It's going to be quite the adventure. Care to join me? Okay, here goes.
In today's episode, I'm joined by the bold and adventurous brand visual identity specialist, Amy Goodall, also known as Mad About the Brand. Amy believes that true transformation is an adventure and knows that the journey is just as important as the destination. So, we are going to dive deep into her world where travel, self-confidence, taking risks, and following your heart defy conventional logic. Buckle up as we traverse the landscapes of brand identity, delve into her time as a project leader on a youth development expedition to Borneo, and discuss the significance of saying yes to the things that light you up and figuring them out later.
Hi. Hello.
Hello. Yeah,
Hi.
there she is.
It's so funny. We've known each other for so long and yet have never spoken.
I know. And now you said that, it's kind of, I just kind of wonder why.
I know. Yeah. I don't know. I think we've always just kind of watched each other, enjoyed each other's kind of posts and stuff. But yeah, it's funny, isn't it? But
I wanted to show you this. The listeners won't be able to see it, but look.
Yes, good girl. Love it. Oh, I should have worn mine. I've got my my H&M Kids Stranger Things.
Oh, it looks good though. But yeah, I thought I'll dig out my t-shirt because I think that was brilliant. My first sort of like interaction with you, as it were.
Yes, yeah, when I was I Should Be.
Yes. Oh yeah, because you changed.
Yeah, I just realised that I didn't want to be selling goods. Like that wasn't my passion. And I always was doing the design in the background. And I kind of thought, I was telling myself, oh, I want to be in big stores and John Lewis and this, that, the other. And then I thought, I don't know if this is what I really want to do. And it was also very difficult managing two Instagram accounts. And obviously it was ironic because I built up the following on that. So I knew that there was probably going to be some drop off when I changed it to a design account, but actually not that much. I just think there's loads of people who never see my contents. They probably don't know that I've changed. But yeah, I'm happy where I am now.
Well, that's quite of a nice segue for me to ask you in that case. What is your main mischief, Amy?
Wow, there's a question. I mean, I would say I kind of have adventure in my heart, and certainly in kind of maybe the last decade, I just have felt that, well, maybe even longer ago than that, just saying yes to things that, you know, at first kind of thought if I let myself really think about it, I'd be put off and scared and just think, oh no, I can't do that. But I just think I've got this kind of like, just say yes, figure it out, and it will become clear whether that's something that I really want to pursue and really want to do. But I've always had a bit of a kind of like, when I went traveling, back in 2007, after I'd done my rally expedition. My friend came to meet me, and we had this plan, and we had our ticket, and it was kind of set which countries we want to go to. And then someone else had been to the Philippines, and I just was like enamored and fell in love with the pictures. And I just thought, I've got to, whilst I am out here doing this thing, I have to just make it happen and get out there. And we did it, and it was absolutely just mind-bogglingly amazing.
Oh.
And I've done other like daft things where I've kind of thought, that wasn't a particularly sensible thing to say yes to. But again, it was a complete adventure, and I lived through it. There was one particular one that I nearly didn't actually live through. So I can tell you about that if you want. But yeah, I think it's just saying yes to stuff that when I then start to think about it afterwards, I'm like, actually, this is quite scary, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay. I think I've found why we have this kind of mutual appreciation for each other, because I think it is that kind of adventurous streak of just saying yes and then going with it. It's like wherever it's going to go, it's going to go.
Exactly. And not kind of necessarily needing to have it all figured out at the beginning as well. I just think everything I do, whether it's in my kind of personal life or work life, you find a way to navigate your way through it. And I realized that once you have that confidence in yourself to, and kind of believe in yourself, you know that you can and you will navigate through anything thrown at you.
Have you always felt like that, or is this something that you think's kind of developed over time?
Yeah, definitely haven't always felt like that. So when I was at school and at university, actually, I was very timid, and I just didn't think that traveling was for me. And I remember my first boyfriend saying, "You're not a kind of well-rounded person unless you've traveled." And I was so fearful of traveling anywhere that I just took that to heart so badly and thought, well, okay, so I'm not a kind of valuable person because I'm too scared to travel. And I kind of, brushed that aside, but I think it was always kind of inside me. I just think that I needed to go through my own process to get to a point where I felt ready to do it. Not everybody is ready to go and start kind of doing business development in a third world country when they leave university. We all have our own kind of time plan. But yeah, I would say that up until even when I was working in tennis, so I did 10 years working for the LTA, it was an awesome job. I really loved it. And it was you just felt part of a family. But whilst I was there, I was very, very safe in my comfort zone. And I kind of thought, this is for me. I love it. It's what I always wanted. After I finished uni, I kind of didn't relent until they gave me a job. I was just relentless in my pursuit of getting a job with them. And then, I just think I had this real kind of mischievous moment where after 10 years, we went through a big redundancy situation. And I fought tooth and nail for that job. And I got it. I won the appeal. And the day I won the appeal, I also got the email from Raleigh saying, "Do you want to come to Borneo?" And I just remember thinking, oh no, okay, so I'm not going to do Borneo then. That's such a shame. And then I just went for a walk around the car park and I paced around and around. I made one phone call to one person. And he just said, do what's in your heart. Just forget about what your boss might think. Forget about what your parents might think. And I just came off the call with him and I just walked back in and I walked into my boss's office and he went, no, not you as well. Because loads of people were handing in their notice. I said, I'm really sorry. I've just got to change. So that was the point. But yeah, I think I feel like I've lived my life in two stages. There was the fearful me and then the adventurous me.
That's really interesting. Was that the defining moment, do you think?
That was the biggest decision I've ever made in my life, that yes, did define the rest of my life, because I think the experience I had on Rally, it was so fundamentally life-changing. And, you know, I went through so many emotions. And I remember when I got out there, I just had this absolute freak out where I was crying a lot and I just felt incapable. I felt like the whole thing was a mistake. I was like, why did you say yes to me? Because I can't cope with this. I can't do it. And someone said, "Are you joking? You are one of the most capable people here.
Isn't that funny?
And you are the person that keeps everyone's energy up when, you know, we're doing the really hard stuff." And I just kind of thought, well, all I've got is my sense of humor. And everyone else, there were medics there, people who just looked like they could trek through a jungle. And I was a city girl, you know, who read Heat magazine and loved lip gloss and shoes. And I just thought, how have I ended up here? Seriously, like, what is going on? And then when that person said that to me, I was like, oh, okay, well, if you think that, and I really respect your opinion, okay, maybe that's okay then. But also what I realized was, and I think I started trying to be this kind of, I just started trying to be someone I wasn't really inside. I was trying to pretend everything was okay and come across as like someone who was totally capable of doing it. But when I let go of all of that and just was myself and pretty much had a bit of a meltdown, then that was again another little defining point where I just thought, do you know what? They all still really seem to like me, even though I am acting a little bit, you know, I'm quite emotional. And yeah, I don't know. There have been several defining moments, but yeah, that handing in my notice in that job was the first time that I just went, I need to go and grow and invest in myself. And it was a big investment in my own self-development.
What was the catalyst to making that decision, do you think? Had you got to a point in your career with all the changing management and reorganization where you were like, it's just not doing it for me anymore? Or was there something a bit deeper going on?
I think I could almost, so if I'd stayed, I could almost see each day and each week and each month and predict and just know what was coming.
Yeah.
And I think it was a decision of, I don't want that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it feels super scary to leave, I want to be in a situation where I just can't predict what's coming. I don't even think that was a conscious decision. I think that's what I realized looking back on it. But there was definitely an element of, and I think also where I worked, there are a lot of people who kind of are in it for life. And I think, again, without consciously recognizing it at the time, I knew I had it in me to do more and make my own way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I didn't recognize whilst I was out doing Rally was I think I'm a leader. And I think I'm only just recognizing now, being able to say that. But I am, and I did lead that. You know, there were some moments where actually how I was kind of relied on the end goal. Like we got there because I was the one who was just able to dig deep somehow and kind of pull this like mental strength from somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I have also done a rally expedition. I did one 2 years before you.
I didn't know that.
Did you not know that?
Where did you go?
I went to Costa Rica and Nicaragua. And for me, it was quite healing, actually, because my trip came off the back of not getting into Sandhurst. I wanted to be an army officer and I didn't pass the selection board.
Oh, wow.
And I had this trip already lined up and I just kind of went there thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do now. What am I going to do? And I remember having a bit of a meltdown while I was there going, well, you know, I didn't get into the army. The army didn't want me. I'm not good enough. Am I good enough to be here?
Yeah.
And I think while I was there, I realized that I did still have stuff to give. I think a lot of the feedback that I got was about my character, my personality, I think.
Yeah.
And I really took it to heart. I really felt like, well, I'm not out to be a leader. So it's sort of like you. That's not what they're looking for. And so because I'm not what they were looking for, I'm clearly not enough. And then when I went through Rally, I mean, I wasn't in a leadership position. I was there on the expedition. And some days, like, they get the people in the groups to be the leader for the day. And, you know, you're kind of map reading or.
Oh, yeah. So you were a participant. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the thing that I noticed, kind of touching on what you were saying, is that I set off with this idea that, you know, being a leader and being confident is all about sort of exerting your authority and this kind of thing. And what I learned then and what I've been building on ever since, I think, is that, you know, confidence isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's about being able to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And you can be a very confident person and just do it quietly.
Yeah.
And, you know, leadership doesn't just begin and end with getting people from A to B. It's how are you going about that as well?
Exactly. How do those people feel when?
It's looking after people. It's having that sense of humor. It's having the determination, being able to dig deep when everybody around you is throwing their toys out the pram and, you know, I'm not walking any further. Yeah. So I can really draw a lot of similarities with your journey.
Yeah, that's so funny. I didn't realize you'd gone.
But it's interesting how you described earlier this kind of before and after. So if there was kind of one version of you up until the traveling moment, what was the version of you after that?
I just had more belief in myself, but there was an element of validation, actually, I think, because so everyone wrote in each other's books at the end of it, and all the participants. So we had 3 phases, and each phase I had, I don't know, 15 young. They weren't kids. They were.
Perhaps I ought to jump in and explain, or you can explain, like, what Rally is for people who don't know.
Yeah. So I think they started out as Operation Rally. Famously, Prince William did an expedition, didn't he? And now they're Rally International. They go to sort of far-flung places to. I would say it was dual purpose. One of the purposes is to go and help people who need, I don't know, stuff built and they don't have the money and the funding to do it. And then the other side of that is to give youngsters from not just kind of well-off middle class people who can afford it, but they have a lot of charity spaces as well. Some of them will be local to the expedition country. Some of them will be just other countries, and then but a lot of them are British. And it's, I suppose, youth development, team building. You know, for a lot of these kids to just kind of, for some of them, realize that the world doesn't revolve around them. And actually, that was something that I needed as well, because I think I had a very kind of insular, not quite self-obsessed, but when you are like, it was pre-marriage and babies, and you know, you're just all about you, aren't you? And I really, really loved the fact that as one of the project managers, I was kind of bottom of the pile. We were last to eat. That was a thing. You would always be the last to eat as you were project manager. I had to we literally washed in a mud river that had crocodiles in it. So appearance out the window. And again, it just kind of put everyone on a similar level. But yeah, essentially they are expeditions with these 2 purposes of helping where help is needed. And then youth development for the participants who go out on expedition.
And when you came back, what did you do next? Was this the time when you kind of started thinking about starting your own business, or did that come along later?
Yeah, no, it didn't happen right away. So when I got back, I went through another mini crisis. It was, even though I'd found it hard to adjust to being in the jungle, I found it way harder to adjust coming home, because I felt that my outlook had changed quite a lot. So to my family, I was quite different.
In what ways? Can you think of something?
I think I was probably just like much more open to relinquishing control and try, because I think before I had been because I was quite a fearful and probably quite insecure. My tendency was to want to control every situation and always know exactly what's happening. And then afterwards, I think because you just had to kind of go, like, one day you might want to carry on digging in the reed bed, but it's monsoon overnight, so it's full of water. So you have to completely bail out all that water. You just didn't know what was coming. So I think I'd got so used to dealing with the unknown. I like to think I was a lot more relaxed and chilled. And the reason I'm saying this is because for a little while I had to go back home and live with my parents. And we both found that just very, very difficult because I don't know, I'd been through this crazy life-changing experience, and people who hadn't been there, I found it hard for that reason as well. I just wanted to kind of be with the people I'd been with. So it was a really difficult adjustment to come back to. And then when I was thinking about, okay, what do I do next? I kind of didn't have a clue. But I had this other weird feeling of I'm out of the loop now, and all my peers are kind of in this quite, doing really well for themselves, and they haven't had this break. And I almost felt like, well, who am I now? I used to think I was tennis girl. I worked in tennis and I went running. So what I did do was went, right, what do I love? And exercise was always kind of like, that's just been a key kind of part of my life and my being. I love exercise. How can I get a job that gets me close to that? But also kind of uses some of my skills. So
Yeah.
I approached a gym and I was like kind of membership retention. If there were any events, I would do those, and I got free gym membership. So I was a bit like, how can I make it work for me, but also get back into, having a job.
That's a really good point. How can I make it work for me?
Yeah. Which almost sounds a bit like selfish, but
no, I don't think it does. I think it's the right approach when you're going to work for somebody else, because it's got to be mutually beneficial.
Yeah, exactly. And there was an element of it that was familiar because it was events. Okay, not quite the same. It was still in a fitness world. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like each kind of step since then has been really like it needed to be there for a reason to get me to where I am now.
Yeah. I'd really like everybody to know where you are now. So
where am I now?
Yeah.
So I've just celebrated my 5-year anniversary of running my own design studio.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very exciting. And it was funny. So I'm having business coaching at the moment, and it's really tiring because I'm having to think about everything I'm doing in a different way. But again, I got to another point where I was like, are you actually going to do this like really properly? Because I know I'm capable, but I didn't know a lot about how to get to a point where I'm consistently working with the right kind of people. And I feel that you have to invest to get to that next level. So I'm doing that at the moment. What I do now is visual identity design. So working with business owners to go through their brand strategy, really get that in place, and then do the visual identity afterwards. And I tend to, just by, I guess, who I am, attract people who are kind of mischief makers themselves and who are disruptors, and
which I love.
Yeah, and who are potentially in an area that could be perceived as quite corporate and dull. Like I did a small project the other day. I've just finished it, logo design, and she said, "Oh, I'm a marketing a virtual assistant, and it can be quite dry and very corporate, and I just want something that completely stands out and says fun. And I just love those kind of projects where I'm like, yeah, great, good for you, and if the kind of their mission and their values and their brand business personality kind of backs all that up, then when you then design that visual identity that completely stands out in a sea of kind of same stuff, that's really powerful, and that's when they begin to grow. And it's really exciting. I feel like I'm kind of on this bit of a precipice at the moment where I'm about to take off.
This episode is kindly sponsored by Polite Club, a brand whose mission is to change the attitude towards vulnerability by encouraging more conversation around it in order to increase real human connection. When you can express your feelings constructively, you can work through your fears, open your heart and find your place in the world. The vehicle for these conversations is clothing, or connection clothing as it's become known. Connection is one of my core values, so I'm thrilled to be able to partner with Polite Club so we can join in our collective goal of bringing people together and helping you rebel against staying the same. Sustainable, organic and rebellious, of course, Polite Club also uses 50% of their profits to fund proactive suicide prevention in the form of coaching, support and awareness raising, which enables people to understand their emotions and express how they feel constructively. Become a vulnerable with us. For more info on the brand or to buy online, go to politeclub.co.uk or follow on Instagram at politeclubhq. Now, back to the show. What are some of the changes that you've been implementing recently then?
So, okay, one of the big changes is realizing that I have a choice in my business, because I still have a tendency to be, I would say, a people pleaser, and that translates to my work.
Yeah.
So there was nothing I would say no to, even though I knew it was potentially going to mean working till 1-2 in the morning, affecting the amount of time I'm with my daughter, my family, agreeing to discount my rates. And that's one kind of area where it's a real battle for creatives.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Isn't it? To charge your value and not charge your worth, because that's not quite the right way to go about it. It's charging the value that you are bringing and thinking of what you are going to be doing for their business that will allow them to kind of grow from there.
Yeah, I think what you're doing when you talk about value is you're facilitating somebody's transformation, and that's that's really powerful. It's not about how many hours it took you to create a logo. It's so much more than that, because the visual identity itself is so much more than that. And I know you feel very strongly about this when you're communicating to people. It's not just the logo. It's so much more than that.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think really in your design world, you are helping to transform people. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And it's not just even transforming their business. They start to become a different person themselves as well.
Yeah.
And that's something that, again, has only just, it's funny, isn't it? How pennies drop for you at all stages of your life. And that one is just kind of clanged for me. And again, so the coach I'm working with, Rachel Pearson, she's just incredible. She's a really, I mean, a part of her appeal as well is she's so calm, and nothing phases her. And I would say I've been quite emotional through this, and again, it's really funny, I got to a point where I just realized I'm at that moment, I'm back in the jungle where I threw my toys out of my pram and said I can't handle this and had a meltdown, but it was the kind of at-home business equivalent. And it's growth, and growth isn't easy. It's very, very, I felt high as a kite, and I felt absolutely the worst I've ever felt. And when I think back to other times that I felt that was it, it's the same thing. And again, it's because I'm changing.
Yeah. And it's exciting. It's scary, but it's exciting as well.
It's thrilling. And I want to teach my daughter, like I want her to kind of see that, because I had some experiences when I was younger where I felt I had people just trying to put me in my place. And one of them was at school with some girls who weren't very nice. And then with the boyfriend, who, nice person, but he just believed he was a better person than me and had more value to give. And I just think, no.
You just brought up there your daughter, and I wanted to ask you if seeing you doing what you're doing is a big part of why you do what you do.
Yeah, definitely. I feel I want to be this example to her, that I feel quite strongly about not sort of pushing her to go through, like when I was growing up, all the decisions I felt were made for me. Not to say that I regret any of them, because I think they probably were right for me, but I was very much I felt I had to just follow the rules, and that was what you did, and there was no option to do anything else. Yeah,
I'm nodding along in agreement, because I know what you mean, and I think that's where a lot of my rebellion has come from now in later life. It's just the sense of I didn't do it earlier on, and so now I don't want any rules.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same, and I think I want her to feel that if she has a particular kind of passion, that is super valid. And I don't really believe that the path of school, university, find a vocational career is the way forwards, because if you're not that kind of person who's going to be stimulated and happy in that, then that's a really sad thing if you're forced into it. So I want to teach her that she's a really valuable person right from now. She is already and I want to really give time for her opinions and her point of view, because okay, she's only 8, but she has some incredible, insightful stuff to say. She's just an absolute little legend, and I know she's very, very strong-minded and strong-willed. Can't think where that comes from. So I just want her to kind of use that, and I want her to probably try and be her own boss a lot sooner than I did. I mean, sometimes I kind of think, I wish I'd done this all sooner. But again, I always come back to, I had to take the steps I had to take to get to it. You can't force that and rush it. I think if you do, you'll probably have a lot more bumps in the road. Yeah. So yeah, I want to teach her to stand up for herself, not feel that she has to conform and follow convention. I want to give her all the opportunities. I would like her to go to university, but not in a kind of, I want you to come out with a first in law or medicine. I want you to just go and have an absolute blast for 3 years. Because again, I think that's part of, just fun of growing up. I loved my time at university.
Where did you go? Which university were you at?
I was at York.
Oh, what a lovely city.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was really lovely. And I met 2 of my closest friends there. We're all going camping. Please say prayers. I think it's going to be wet. We're going camping with all our kids next
You're talking about the drinks, obviously, not the weather.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Definitely. It's going to be messy. We haven't seen each other for a long time. And I don't know, we've had a few WhatsApp conversations recently where we're like, is it meant to be this hard? Are we meant to have this much stuff to handle? Was it like this for our parents? And that's another reason why I kind of feel like I'm doing a really good job of running my own business, because the amount of pressure, I have a full-time job, and that's my own job. So I have to, and it's great that I can work it around school and pickups and my daughter. That is really awesome. But it also brings other challenges. I can work late, the switching off.
The mental load is real, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that because we've had so much opportunity and choice, the downside of it is that you can get very sort of I don't know, it's a lot of pressure, but and then on the flip side, I just kind of think, well, that makes me even more of a badass because I'm doing it. So
I was just going to say, I'm so glad and so happy that you can recognize your achievements, because so many people get bogged down in the sense that they're not doing enough. You know, dedicating time to their business means they're not being a very good mom. Dedicating all their time to their children means they're not being, they're not dedicating enough time to themselves.
yeah,
And it's just this constant battle, isn't it? So I think anybody who can stand up and say, actually, I'm doing a fucking good job,
yeah,
I think is fantastic.
exactly. And again, that's something I've learned through working with Rachel. She's so celebratory, and she says, celebrate everything, even if, the teeny tiny moments, because it then brings about a mind shift. And I think because I also spend quite a lot of time on my own because my husband works away, so it can be very easy for me to kind of sink into a bit of everything's very hard right now.
Yeah.
And to be able to have these kind of little tools to go, okay, look back through today and pick out all the wins and write them down and look at them again tomorrow morning. It's a really useful thing to be able to do, to just kind of, because when it comes down to it, the only person you can really rely on is yourself.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to do that and celebrate yourself.
I was just going to ask you actually what you do when things feel hard. Is that one of them, writing down your wins?
Yes. So that's something I've started doing, really, really celebrating the tiny things, but also just exercise. It's always been exercise, swimming, running. And also I'm really conscious to keep in groups of stuff. So I don't just go out for a run solo anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I do exercise, like I'll go to circuits, boot camp. I dance on a Tuesday. Dance is like another non-negotiable. So my dance teacher, Georgie, she is a human ray of sunshine. And I stopped going because after having a baby, I was like, because I did burlesque.
Mm-hmm. Which is something I always wanted to try. So
it's so fun. Find it, go and do it. It's amazing. I don't do the burlesque anymore, although I did for a bit. But I do the kind of commercial dance.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say I was probably the most wooden person in the group, and it takes me much longer than everybody else. But the joy is phenomenal. And the group of girls, they are all walks of life, all shapes and sizes, all ages. And it's just such a lovely, lovely group. So keeping in groups of things, where, every Tuesday I'll, when I'm having a bad week, I might feel I just don't want to go tonight. I'm so tired and I've had a really bad day. And then I just force myself, just get in the car and go. And I have the best hour. And then I come out and I'm like, I'm so glad I went.
Yeah, it's so often the case, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I listened to I'm not going to be able to remember the name of the guy now, but I can find it, a podcast, and it was with Dr. Rangan Chatterjee.
Mm-hmm.
And the person he was interviewing, he was saying about how community is a social vitamin, and that sentence, I just loved it. And it's so true. You need, and when you work for yourself at home on your own, you have to force yourself out there into places of connection.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I just wither away. Like connection is one of connection and community is one of my value, like brand.
Yeah, and mine too. Absolutely.
And and you're doing that with this, your mischief movement. It's brilliant.
I hope so. I'm definitely feeling the benefit of connecting. I love having these conversations so much. So I totally understand about the connection value and having that sense of community. It's so special. It just gives you another layer, I think, to life.
Yeah.
This whole movement thing for me it's come off the back of being in a phase of my life where I just felt like I was taking everything too seriously. I think it was a combination of becoming a mum and having that whole new world of responsibility, and sort of reevaluating who I was and what I wanted and all that kind of stuff. But then I started taking it all too seriously. And then one day I just kind of woke up and went, what a bore you have become. It's all a world of responsibilities and trying to find your purpose, blah, blah, blah. I'm boring myself. I think what I'd really like to do is just have more fun. And that's it.
Yeah.
and not worry, not be that person who's like, I've got to get an A in this and I've got to be the best at that. And if it's, it's not linear, I'm not doing it right. I think what I've learned is just follow the fun and you'll get wherever you're going. And it is a whole new concept for me. It's a whole new thing I'm embracing.
Yeah. I would totally agree with that. And I think motherhood is a real shock in a way, isn't it? I mean, it's a shock in so many ways. And I felt like I had an identity crisis after I had my daughter. And when I started, I wasn't obviously doing graphic design. I started I Should Be, and I was that was my way of trying to have fun, because I just felt this social pressure of, right, you need to get rid of all your nice clothes and you'll be covered in vomit, and you'll never sleep again. And it's like, is there anyone out there who's got some good news for me? Because like that all sounds quite boring. And that kind of, there's a stubbornness to me. I was kind of thinking, I'm not doing it like that. And it's one of the ways I approach my relationship with my daughter as well. And my husband's the same. He's got this brilliant, wicked sense of humor, and it was why we got connected. And we both just try and have as much fun with her as possible. And if she wants me to do, I know I used to find the days where I had to be Elsa for hours on end, really not going to lie, that was a struggle. But if she wants me to get my roller skates on and go out for a skate, I will try as hard as possible to say yes, unless there is something burningly urgent going on. I think we forget how to play, don't we? So you just have to kind of keep going into their world, rather than them just sort of just always seeing you at your computer.
I need to do that more. And I'm the first one to say that. But it is happening. I mean, I do remember reading something when I became a mum that said children are our teachers, not the other way around, or words to that effect. And I didn't quite understand at the beginning, but I see it so much clearer now. And especially when we talk about having fun and learning to play and sort of shaking off a lot of that seriousness. I do like to lean into what they want to do, or what they're kind of instigating in terms of like playing games or doing activities and that kind of thing. So I think just trying to incorporate more fun and more play into daily life is really helping me a lot.
Well, it just reminded me, when I worked at the LTA, I had to email the entire organization with the results of the tournament at the end of each day. And I just one day I remember thinking, oh, this is all a bit boring, isn't it? And it's like, oh, kind regards, blah, blah, blah. And one day I put a joke at the end, and then I got so much lovely positive feedback. I started doing it, and I became the person who always put a joke at the end.
Oh, I love that.
And it's that kind of just adding just a little bit of fun to something that could otherwise be a little bit dry.
I love that, because I've been in the same position. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but just that idea of taking something that's dry, as you say, and then adding that element of fun and personality is everything to me. And if I have to follow it and conform to what's, it's how something's expected to be done, then I'm disappointing myself, because I'm like, no, there must be something I can add to this just to make it a little bit more interesting. And it seems like you were having exactly the same thought.
Totally. And I just kind of think, why not?
Yeah.
Why do we have to approach everything with so much seriousness? And actually, it's something that I sometimes see in designers. It feels that a lot of designers take themselves very, very seriously. That's not to say that what we're doing isn't serious, because we're doing something that's going to help a business. But I always try to approach it with fun. And I had a great client recently. We did a full kind of visual identity project. And I can't remember how it started, but he started calling me Dave. But then he would always call me a bloke's name, but change it up. So I was calling him like Sandra or whatever. And again, it was something so tiny and so silly, but it just meant that the project was really, really fun to work on.
Yeah.
And I just think that if you can just add a little bit of your personality in that way into something, then why the hell not? Like, it doesn't all need to be so serious in kind regards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think your own branding is really fun and cheeky. I mean, that's how I would describe it, is cheeky.
Thank you. Yeah, I like that.
And I think, as you said, if you've got your brand on point, then naturally you're going to start to attract those kind of people back. So it seems to be working for you.
Yeah, I think it is. It's doing good, because I didn't even know he existed. He literally just sent me an email. I said, "Oh, I've just been seeing some of your posts on LinkedIn, actually." Again, like, people talk about standing out. Standing out isn't the goal. It's attracting the people who needs to know about you. So standing out, yes, but you could stand out for loads of wrong reasons. You need to stand out in a relevant way.
Yes.
I just think it's a line that I see trotted out quite a lot. Oh, I'll help you stand out. I'll help you stand out. But that's not giving the client the full information. It's like standing out to the right people in the right area for the right reasons. Yeah. There's just a bit more to it than that.
Yeah. So if you had to give me your mission or your sort of elevator pitch for what you do, what would it be? Man. Am I totally putting you on the spot now?
Because my business coach wants me to do a live talking about this.
Because it's really hard to whittle things down into something that's so succinct. And I know this because I've been trying to create a business card this last week, and it's just been like ridiculous. You would never believe that it would take so many hours to come up with a tiny phrase for the back of a card. Well, you might, because you're in this kind of environment, but the amount of like headaches and revisions and just over one sentence, but it's so important.
It is important, and believe me, it's so much harder to do it for yourself than for somebody else, because that's essentially what I get paid to do.
Yeah,
when I'm working through a brand strategy, that's what that's what we're aiming for, to nail down the purpose and the mission. So I just adore design. That's one thing. I'm passionate about it, but that's from my perspective. And I think because I feel like I have been through a fundamentally life-changing journey, that's what I want to do for my clients. So with my love of design, I help them on their fundamentally life-changing journey, and I help them with their transformation, their business transformation, and their transformation as who they are as a business founder. And I do that by nailing their brand strategy and designing a flexible visual identity, which means that everything they do, everything they say, everything they put out into the world is going to find their ideal customers. And I do all of that with just this kind of locked in feeling of team, we're a team. You're amazing. So am I. We're going to absolutely boss this, and a sense of humour.
That's beautiful.
That wasn't one sentence. Let's do another podcast in a month and I will have it nailed.
No, but it was lovely to hear, because it just, it just sums everything up that you're doing at the moment.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a really good place. I feel really like I've definitely found my passion and my purpose. And I just kind of think I want to play that part in helping people with their own purpose, and the business that they're running is for a really, really good reason. They're not just making money. They've got a product or they provide a service that is changing lives. So and I want them to build their community, because that's when a brand can be really successful, when they have their own community. The design work I do is with the goal of them taking their customers along for the ride, so they're part of it. So I have this really, I don't do well when I'm on my own. I love being amongst other people. And I want to kind of just inject that into every project I do.
Yeah, I feel that so much, because I also really want to be facilitating somebody's journey into being a change maker. Ultimately, I mean, I've used all these different adjectives trying to come up with the kind of person that I feel like I can help. But essentially what it boils down to is I want to be out there being a change maker, and that's exactly the kind of person that I also want to help, because if we're out there making the world a better place, everybody benefits.
Yeah, and if you've helped just one person make a change, it's funny, even when I go and I do my circuits, I just find myself naturally kind of, if someone's struggling, I'm like, come on, you've got this, you can do it, come on, come with me. And it's part of my being.
I get that too. What's the big vision for where you'd like to go with your business, do you think?
So I think, because I'm all about the journey, I haven't actually thought about that recently. Because another kind of word, a phrase that just ricochets around in my head is, and it sounds really cliched, but the journey is the reward. And I see what I'm doing now as taking me into a next stage of my journey. But I suppose I just, want to just lean in more to that confidence of saying I'm a leader, I'm an expert in what I do. Wait and see what happens.
I think that's the best way sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, Amy, it's been lovely having a chat with you. Thank you.
Really lovely. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been an absolute honour, honestly. Again, for so long, and back to old me, if you'd said one day you're going to do a podcast, even if I didn't know what a podcast was back then, I would have just laughed in your face. So it feels like, I don't know, it's just a chat, isn't it? But it feels, again, like another kind of little,
take that. That's another thing to celebrate.
Exactly. I will be celebrating this big styly.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving up your time to talk to me. Oh, how many good things were there in that episode? So before I run out on you, I thought I'd just give you a quick rundown of 10 of my takeaways from this episode. So, number 1, say yes to things and figure them out later. Number 2, we all have our own time plan. We have to go through our own process where we feel ready to do the things. Number 3, comfort zones are great, but predictable. Sometimes you just need to take a chance on that thing that's going to make you grow. Number 4, don't underestimate what skills, qualities, or personality traits you bring to the table. There's just as much need for a sense of humour as there is for being the strongest or the smartest one in the room. Number 5, when you surround yourself with the right people and can allow yourself to be your whole self, they won't dislike you for it. They will probably love you even more. Number 6, you may not be born a leader or even have demonstrated leadership skills in the past, but that doesn't mean that you don't have them and that you're not cut out to lead. Leadership can be learned, and leadership also comes out given the right circumstances. Number 7, having any sort of identity crisis is completely normal. If you feel stuck, start by asking yourself, what do I love? And it will open new paths that you probably wouldn't have even expected. Number 8, we all have a choice about what we agree to do. It's just a question of setting boundaries. Number 9, celebrate everything, as it brings about a mind shift. When you write down your small wins and read them again the next day, it sets you up for a much more positive day. And number 10, motherhood doesn't need to be boring. Having fun, bringing a sense of humour and remembering to enter our children's world and be playful can give it a whole different perspective. Same can be said for bringing fun and personality to a boring, dry work situation. We can still be serious and approach these things with fun. Anyway, Amy would really love it if you would like to join her community. She sends out email newsletters with tips and tricks to achieve visibility and growth. And the vibe is, it's very much a continuation of this discussion about journeying and adventure. All of Amy's clients are doing their something a little bit differently. And of course, therein lies the mischief. So it's not necessarily mad or bold or fierce. It could just be that their approach to a corporate environment is embedded with fun and creativity. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then I will put Amy's information in the show notes and you can sign up to her newsletter or find out more about how to work with her from there. All right, my friends, for more inspiration on living mischievously, you can sign up to my monthly newsletter or jump into my DMs on Instagram at Mischief and Hide. Obviously, if you enjoyed this podcast, then please do tell a friend or leave me a review wherever you download your episodes, which of course will help my mission to inspire and empower more people like us to choose mischief over mediocre. I will catch you next week, and in the meantime, welcome to the rebellion. Ciao, ciao.